This is the Insta360 GO 3S. It's a tiny action camera that can now shoot in 4K. So let me start off by saying that this video is sponsored by my bank account. So I'd like to thank me for getting me this camera. Anyways, here it is. So let's do a quick unboxing and I'll give you my initial thoughts. So here it is, still in the wrapper. Let's open this up. And first we have a USB-C charging cable. Next is some recycling material. And here's the GO 3S and the action pod. We'll come back to this. Here's the magnet pendant. Next is a flexible adhesive mount. Then the pivot stand. And finally the easy clip. This can be combined with a magnet pendant. Let's get those stickers off the camera. Alright, now let's go talk about the GO 3S. I've been using it every day since it came out and so far I'm loving it. The image quality out of it actually surprised me. After using the GO 1 and GO 2, I wasn't expecting much, but the image quality out of this is actually really good. It's an awesome camera to capture those unique shots that I can't get with my other cameras. There's so many different ways to use and mount this, like the accessories right out of the box. My favorite one that I use is probably this, the magnetic pendant. I probably use this mount for most of my shots with this camera. Just mount it underneath my shirt like so, and then just put the camera on there and there you go, I got my POV shots with this camera. Or of course, that way also. Next we have the pivot stand. It's actually flexible this time, so I can mount it to like the side of my helmet or underneath my skateboard because it can now stick to like curved surfaces. And this is great because it can hold the action pod with the GO 3 in there obviously, or it can just hold the GO 3 by itself and then just tilt it to the angle you need it to and you're good to go. Oh, I'm recording. Stop it. And then finally is the easy clip. You can use this to mount on your hat to get that top-down POV shot, but most of the time I like to put this like on my backpack strap so I can just easily put my camera on there and that without having to use the pendant. What's nice about the clip this time is that it has a metal back, so it does connect to like the metal pendant. So now when I attach the GO 3 to it, I can actually aim which way the camera's pointing. Because sometimes I notice I'm pointing way too high or way too low with just the magnetic pendant. So now I can adjust the angle of it with the easy clip. I didn't realize I needed a screen for this camera. Most of the time when I'm using the GO series camera, I use it as a POV mount and like mount it on my chest. And I just knew whichever way I was facing was what I was capturing. Because I couldn't frame the shot before, I didn't really mount the camera in places because I wasn't sure if I was actually capturing what I needed to. With the screen though, I can now frame the shots. Like when I'm mounting the camera on my dog, I can make sure it's not pointed right at the ground. There is a slight delay with the screen, but I only really need it to frame the shot, so it doesn't really bother me. So in regular video mode, when the camera's horizontal, it shoots horizontally. When it's vertical, it shoots vertically. Simple, right? But if I want to mount it to the side of my helmet and film horizontally, I don't want it to stick out like this. I'd rather have it vertically. But if I shoot in FreeFrame mode, I can mount the GO however I want, and then I can adjust how the footage comes out in post. The battery life's pretty good. I took the GO 3S out in my morning run, I shot one long recording at 4K, and the GO 3 lasted for just under 37 minutes before it died. And the action pod lasted me about 2 hours before I had to recharge it. Just like everything, there's some cons with this thing. First off, when it's horizontal, it shoots horizontal. When it's vertical, it's vertical. I just wish there was a way to lock the orientation so that I could mount it vertically but still film horizontally. As I was saying, you can do that in FreeFrame mode, but I wish you could do it in regular video mode because FreeFrame mode adds another step in editing. I just wish I could unload the footage and post it. Horizontal shots horizontal, vertical is vertical. Next, when the GO 3S is in action pod, the lens faces out, so it's unprotected. Unlike in the GO 1 and the GO 2 where the lens is protected, I think the GO 1 had like a little cover on top of it, and the GO 2 was like an encapsulated case. I don't know what to call it. But with this one, the lens sticks out, so I'm not carelessly throwing it like in my pocket with my keys or in my bag. So yeah, I just wish there was a way to mount the camera inwards just to protect the lens. Alright, next, the GO 3 doesn't have a vibration motor. I know that the GO 2 had one, so that when I'm using the camera by itself and I hit record, it would vibrate, so I would know it was recording. With the GO 3S, there is no haptic feedback, so after I hit record, the first 5 seconds is always the top of my face making sure that the red light's on and recording. I just wish the GO 3S had that haptic feedback like the GO 2 did. And finally, you can insert the SD card into the action pod in order to back up the footage from the GO 3. Where is that? Oh, it's on my chest. I know Insta360 recently came out with an accessory so you can put all the footage onto a memory card, but that's another accessory that I would have to carry in my bag. Yeah, it's small and doesn't take up a lot of space, but when I'm traveling with a lot of camera gear already, cameras, lenses, batteries, drones, microphones, lights, it's just one more thing that I have to keep track of. It would have been awesome if the action pod just had a memory card slot in it. So I love the GO 3 series from Insta360, but it's funny because I never would have got the original GO when it was first introduced. Fortunately, I attended a potato jet filmmaking treat in Chiang Mai, and Insta360 gifted all of us the GO. We all had fun with the camera, and I used it all the time, especially for POV shots. I eventually sold that original GO when the GO 2 came out, and I loved the redesign of that case. When the rumors of the GO 3 were coming out, I preemptively sold the GO 2, but then I never bought the GO 3 because it didn't seem like a great upgrade. You see, after the GO 2 was released, the DJI Action 2 came out, and I love this camera. It was small and it worked similar to the GO cameras, except it had a screen. It was easier to match the colors to my other DJI drones and cameras, and it shot in 4K. The GO 3 didn't seem like a worthy replacement for my Action 2, especially since it didn't shoot in 4K. But then a year later, the GO 3S was announced, and since it now shot in 4K, and because I had an itch to buy something new, I picked it up, and I'm pretty glad I did. It's definitely a worthy upgrade over the Go 2, and I think it's gonna make my DJI Action 2 collect dust. Anyways, let me know if you have any questions, but for now, I'm gonna see what other camera gear that my bank account can sponsor for me. See ya.